Welcome to the United We Scan podcast, the podcast by rural carriers for rural carriers. The views expressed in this podcast are of the presenters and the presenters only and do not represent the views, opinions, or strategies of the United States Postal Service or the National Rural Letter Carriers Association. We ask that you please consult your assigned union representative for guidance in your local area. Please like this podcast, share with your fellow rural carriers, and subscribe to be notified each time a new episode is uploaded. Please leave a comment or question for us below. Thank you. Now, here are the hosts of the United We Scan podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. Episode 121. What's happening around the craft? We don't really have a set agenda tonight, so it's anything goes to a point. How was your week, James?
Oh, we have it to a point now? I thought it was a free-for-all on here.
Yeah.
It was a normal week for me at work. Of course, not many mistakes this week for my sub, which means she's getting better. So I give her kudos on that. Unfortunately, next Saturday, I will be working since I signed up on the relief day work list and we don't have enough people to cover the route. I will be working the designated holiday because everybody whose designated holiday it is will be working. So I'm first in line to work that. So will other relief day work list carriers. So it's going to be interesting working my first Saturday on the relief day work list. Saturday was the 90th/51st anniversary for the Detroit Model Railroad Club, which is in Holly, Michigan. The 90 years is how long the club's been around. They've been around since 1935, and they've been in Holly for 51 years. So they were celebrating both of those milestones at the same time Saturday. Between that, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, I worked with the president of the Model Railroad Club on building an entire section of track, wiring it up, and getting it ready for our operation session / celebration on Saturday. And then today, Sunday, I went to the ratification meeting with Mike Marola. A lot of information there. I highly recommend if you guys have a ratification meeting coming up that you attend. It's very important. And it's the only place you can ask questions straightforward and get an answer right then and there. Because with the Zoom meetings, you only get a video. You don't get a chance to ask any questions. You don't get to talk to anybody. And they tell you to send your questions in to National. And there's a chance they may not answer your question. So attend a ratification meeting if you can, because it's important that you understand what all they thought about this and why they did what they did. And they do explain a lot of it, at least Mike Marola did. But other than that, it was nice to have a good week, although we did get severe weather, and we are now up to 25 tornadoes for the year in the state of Michigan, including one that hit Lansing, the capital city. So lots of severe weather going on out there. I've been watching it and keeping track. I mean, this is just unheard of, the amount of tornadoes that have been reported already this year. How was your week, Bill?
Oh, it was interesting. It was a little slow pace, which I liked, because I could get to a number of things that I put on the back burner. Since being retired, I'd like to go fishing, but unfortunately, I don't have my car, so I can't even go out fishing right now. It's lovely having children. It's funny because you sit there and said something about the Zoom meetings. We had people attend a TA meeting, and they went in and they had this big screen there. They showed the video, and that was it. And the person who was orchestrating the Zoom meeting wasn't qualified to answer any of the questions. And they said, "Well, what was the point of this? We could have just read this." Because that's what they did on the Zoom meeting. And of course, the individual sitting there going, I don't know. I'm just a sacrificial lamb. So the people spent up to an hour to drive to the TA meeting just to find out it was a video, and they weren't happy about that. Like I said, I am currently on schedule to interview for an ARC position, just so I can be a full-blooded member for the convention, and that'll be funny as hell because somebody is standing up and say, "Are you retiring?" I'm gonna say, "No, I'm not. I'm a ARC." Oh God, I envy you people, but you will never know the full-blooded experience of being a professional asshole. I wish I could grant you that, but it's reserved for professionals only. So don't try it at home. With that, Kristen, how was your week?
Wow, pretty normal. I was supposed to go to the eye doctor Wednesday, and I get there, and they were experiencing a power outage. So I had to reschedule, and then reschedule again. And this appointment was actually a reschedule from the original one. So yeah, hopefully June 5th I actually get to go to the eye doctor. All right. Right? So anyways, Ruby was working her route Wednesday, and she when she got to the halfway point where she's closest to the RMPO office there, she had to stop to use the facilities. And she come out and her car was giving her issues with getting restarted. So she calls me. I'd happened to leave a few minutes early anyways on my way up to the eye doctor in the next town. And I was like, "What's it doing?" I could hear it. I said, "Okay." And I said, "Oh, I'm coming up on F30. I'll just cut over and help you get going." So I flew down there. It took me all of 5 minutes to get to her at that point. I said, "Have your hood pop for me when I get there." I pull up, disconnected her battery, waited for a minute, reconnected it, did it again. Tried again, disconnected, waited a little bit longer, reconnected it, started right up. So there you go, kiddo. Go finish your route. I'll see you later. So, other than that, I worked my K-Day yesterday. It's been a pretty regular week otherwise. My Amazon's gotten heavy again. I unfortunately didn't make the ratification meeting today. I had every intention of going until I got up this morning and plans changed. So I unfortunately missed it, but a couple people have filled me in. Other than that, it's been a normal week.
In regards to your car troubles, Kristen,
Yeah.
my when I was down in North Carolina 2 weeks ago, my sister has this thing called the Halo. It's a small battery charger, a jumper. It's one like one of the boxes, but it's small. It's small enough to fit into a normal woman's purse, which we know can handle. Yeah.
Yeah, this is.
I can't believe how well they work.
Yeah, I've got one. I've got a Vector is what mine is.
Okay.
But no, what her issue is her electronic throttle control is acting up, and
That's a reset.
Yes. So that's about the only way you can reset it, and yeah, she's a broke RCA to try and get that fixed anytime soon.
Yep.
Yep. Oh! And her graduation is Thursday.
And Gregory's graduation's Friday.
Yeah, she graduates from high school Thursday.
He gets his what does he get? He gets his associate medical degree from the University of Delaware.
Nice.
Yeah, and 4 months later he'll be in Puerto Rico. Jesus, I'm freaking hating that. I'm telling you,
pretty
that's another
for me.
That's a discussion we can have after the show.
Mm-hmm.
Kill a little shit.
All right. So, the very first thing I want to talk about today is the severe weather that is ongoing across this nation. Unprecedented amounts of tornadoes and severe weather damage have occurred across this country. And rural carriers are affected too. Big thing places like St. Louis, Lansing, Michigan, Colorado, Missouri, all over this country are getting hit by severe weather. And carriers that are affected by this need help. And one of the biggest things that's out there is the Postal Employee Relief Fund. It doesn't get talked about a lot, but it can help a carrier in a time of need. And you can donate to it. Carriers, customers, everybody is affected by this severe weather. And people can blame whoever they want for what's going on with the current administration and things like that. That doesn't matter. What matters is we come together and we help our fellow carriers. Because there are brothers and sisters of this craft. And perf is one way you can do that. So if you have it in your heart and can help them out, donate to perf, please.
On that note, James, I'd also like to see finally it pass the resolution to allow carriers to give away voluntarily, give other carriers sick leave hours. We're currently only allowed to give annual leave hours, and you can only give up to 10 days. Years ago, we had a gentleman in our office. We called him Sky because he was 6'7", and he touched the sky, and came down with cancer. And I gave him 10 days. That's all I could give him. And other carriers in office. Oh, I would too if I could give sick leave. Well, this is one of your coworkers, and some of you were actually friendly with him and didn't donate 1 day of annual leave. I mean, if you give somebody 2 days of annual leave, that helps them cover their medical for a pay period.
Mm-hmm.
When I met his wife at his funeral, and she was Mrs. Sky because she was like 6'3", and she just hugged me up and goes, "Oh my God!" She goes, "You're the big A," and I said, "Yeah." She goes, "You don't know how much that meant that we could carry medical for 5 extra weeks." She goes, and I don't believe you're an asshole, and I said, "Well, you're wrong. I am, but I have a heart." And I said I'd have given more if I could have, and that's something, you don't have to know the person to help them out. Like James says, we're all brothers and sisters in this fight. We're all in this together. And if we could find a way to get the post office to bend on that, I'm sure people wouldn't mind giving sick leave away.
Yeah.
They're just too tight to give away annual leave. And a lot of you got annual leave you'll never use anyway, under the current situation with no subs.
Yeah. Or you got some of us who just take way too much leave and just don't have it available.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's definitely annual leave donation if you can, and donate to perf if you can, and if you are in need of assistance, reach out to perf. I know a lot of that severe weather hit down by my parents' house when I had talked to my mom. Was it Friday? Was that storm that came through? Was that Thursday night, James?
I believe so. Thursday, Friday. Let me check.
I think it was Thursday night. Yeah.
Yeah, Thursday night. Yes.
Yeah, because I talked to my mom Friday, and they didn't have power. Yeah, it was Thursday night, because my son had a VA appointment in Battle Creek on Friday, and the only way he could get to Battle Creek was a Dake 69 down to 94. He couldn't get in on any of the other back roads, M66, none of it. because of all the down trees and debris and stuff. And when I talked to my mom Friday, they were anticipating power to be back on Friday evening. And no, their power came back on this morning when she called me. And it was on for a little bit. Then it went out again, and it's been out in and out. Uh, that was when I talked to her at about 3 o'clock this afternoon.
Now, James, do I have to be a member of the union to qualify for perf?
No.
No, it's postal employees. It's completely separate from the union.
There you go. I was setting you up,
And it's for all employees, regardless of the craft.
Yes, it is.
And sure, you can argue, well, I don't want to give that money to management. Well, they're employees too.
Mm-hmm.
They get affected just like we do. They're human just like we do, even if a lot of times we don't like them.
I thought they were just parasitic symbiotes.
They have a job to do too, and unfortunately, a lot of times the job they have to do is one that they're told to do by somebody who doesn't know any better.
Pretty much.
Yeah, it helps. And as somebody said in chat, it helps with wildfires, hurricanes, floods,
Natural disasters.
ice storms.
Yep, natural disasters.
Yeah. Like think of Gaylord with the ice storms up there.
Mm-hmm.
So you're helping. They're still cleaning up.
They are. They are. When I was over there before I went down to Mid-States, yeah, that was. We were still passing cleanup crews and National Guard out there cleaning up because I took the back roads in, and they still haven't got confirmation on when they're going to get out of school.
Dang.
Because they have used 29 snow days this year. So, yeah.
It's a mess.
It is.
Yeah. Speaking of taking action, a lot of people are talking about how our national board has been pushing for people to take action over the legislative proposal for drastic cuts to the retirement benefits of postal employees. This affects everybody. It doesn't matter if you're table 1, table 2, if you're paying the 0.8% or you're paying the 4.4%. It affects you because there's more to it than just raising the amount that people contribute to it. It also affects your interim retirement fund if you retire early.
Your supplement.
And things like that. Yep. Your supplemental retirement. Things like that. Your
high
annuity
3.
calculation.
Yeah, your
high 3 to high 5 instead. Yep. So it affects everybody. And this is very important that even every single carrier out there calls their representative and their senator. Because especially in Republican areas, the big thing you have to think about is most areas have people who are employed by the federal government, whether it be in the rural craft, the city craft, or in other government services like the National Weather Service.
National Forest
They're all
Service.
Social
National
Security,
Forestry
Medicaid.
Service.
Yep.
Yeah, they're all of those employees are affected by this. So they have to know that all the people they're affecting with this vote. The people who vote for them are the ones that should be contacting them and telling them that this is a mistake, this is something they shouldn't be doing. Because if you can get enough people to say, hey, enough people call them, the number of people that call them are more than the number of people that they won the election by, that puts their chance of being reelected at risk. They don't want to do that. They want to keep their cushy job where they can become a multimillionaire off of lobbyists. So getting people to step up and get involved and call, write, email, everything to these people. And don't just call them and not follow up on it. call them back and ask them what they're doing about that. I called you a week ago and asked you about this. What's the representative stance now on this? Follow up. Because if you continue to pressure them on that, it's more likely they'll actually do something just to get you to stop calling them.
And this is not a modest increase to your costs for retirement. This is dramatic. This is over 5 times the amount. And it's like, hold on, am I missing something? Why are they doing this? Well, cost cutting on our backs again. And it's not just the post office. I mean, you got the FAA, you got the National Transportation Board, you got the railroad workers, forestry. You have everybody involved. There's not a 1 in 10 chance that somebody that doesn't work for the federal government in some capacity. ICE, let me tell you that one. But the fact that U.S. Marshal, all of them.
TSA.
FBI, it's NSA, CIA, and a couple of them you don't know about.
Yeah, it's going to affect a lot of people.
You're talking well over, was it 3.8 million people in the immediate federal government? Immediate. And let's not forget our service people too.
Yep.
You're right about that, Frequency.
Yeah.
Not to of congressional retirees.
Now let's get into the nitty gritty, because we've been having the ratification meetings, and I've been seeing rumblings all over social media. Vote yes, vote no, this, that, and the other thing. And a lot of people talking about our past arbitration decisions. And a lot of them saying our voting no on these tentative agreements is the reason why we've gone to arbitration all these times. Bill, is that a true statement that every time we voted no and gone to arbitration, the reason why we've gone to arbitration?
Well, technically, yes.
Not the last one.
We're talking about
no.
We're talking about the craft as a whole. The craft rejected a tentative agreement, so we had to go to arbitration.
No, it's not. Yeah, people will say technically, if you voted no, then they have no recourse but to go to arbitration. But yes, they do. They still have a time period in there to renegotiate before they're forced to go to arbitration.
Yeah.
But
and you have to think about what arbitration really is, and that is where somebody gets told what's going on, and they make an educated guess as to what would be beneficial, for the most part, for both sides to be equal. They're trying to split the baby, as you would say. And being afraid of them splitting the baby doesn't get you anywhere other than voting for garbage contracts. Or you could go the way that city carriers did and have a president who just decides that, I like the tentative agreement I wrote, so that's what we're going to get for our arbitration decision.
if you don't believe that, then ask yourself why it took the arbitrator a whole 48 hours to decide that.
Mm-hmm. Because every single arbitration we've had, it took the arbitrator at least a month to write the decision for the rural carriers. A month.
No, the last arbitration we went to, though, was due to an impasse. It never even went out to vote.
Mm-hmm. In fact, I think we've only voted no one other time. Is that correct? If I'm not mistaken.
Well, if you are mistaken, somebody will let you know, James.
Oh, I'm sure they will. I'm sure it will come out somewhere.
Because
I'm
you're not
appreciative.
allowed to. You're not allowed to have an opinion unless you're 100% right.
I'm actually appreciative of them doing that because that helps me learn even more, and it gives me more of an idea of what our craft is thinking as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
Because I actually listen to the craft.
What was that? I wasn't listening to you, James. uh,
But the ratification meeting that I just came from today, they went over this stuff, and I will give Mike Marola a lot of credit. He did discuss a lot of the more intricate details of how they came to this decision in this ratification meeting. And going through that and then answering questions from everybody in the audience. And he waited until all questions were answered before it was over. That is the sign of a leader right there, willing to sit there and listen to questions and answer questions from the audience until everybody was satisfied. That is what you're supposed to do.
well, what were the pertinent questions there today, James?
Um, so basically, it was just getting explanations of details of it. It wasn't really anything major. I did ask him, why should I vote yes for this when I calculated out that I'd be losing $4 a paycheck on the very first paycheck I would get after this was passed and the raises were put into it. And actually got into a discussion with another member of our craft with he actually created a calculator for the tentative agreement and figured out exactly what it's going to cost. And he figured out by the end of this contract about how much somebody would have gained in their paycheck. And for instance, somebody at step 1 on table 2 will gain almost $7,000 with this tentative agreement in their paycheck, supposedly. I have to check the math. I'm going to get them to send me their calculator. It's a spreadsheet that they created.
I heard about it.
So, yeah. So that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to check the numbers. I'm going to check the calculations and all that stuff on it, and see if I can expand on it as well, make my own. But
Yeah, because I'd be curious to see that also because of the fact that if that was even remotely viable, okay, I think somebody at the national level would be touting that. Therefore, I think the numbers that are being manipulated are being done on a very wide curve.
yes,
I'm just I'm going through my mind right now, looking at table 2, and I don't see $7,000 over 3 years, especially since 1 year's already gone.
If you include the step increases too.
Well, yeah, you're going to get the step increases, and it would be 3 years if it does get rejected and doesn't get to 50 weeks versus 52. But you got to remember again, you're at 15 steps, which only knocks off barely over a half a year, which means you're getting 2.5 years still above and beyond a table 1 employee. So just on that alone, that doesn't qualify for $7,000 over 3 years.
yeah.
And that's why you need to get a hold of that calculator because that seems oddly, high in regards to something that they would turn around and tout as being a real life gain over the life of this contract. I mean, if I was the president of the union, I'd be shouting to them.
Yeah. if we could have a calculator like that on the union website that actually breaks it down by step, that you can input your step and stuff like that would be like astronomical in getting somebody to actually vote yes on this if they really wanted to do that.
So yeah,
So.
I smell hooey. Just saying.
All right, and you have anything to add to that, Kristen?
No. I'm good.
See, Rich here's an antagonist. You know, he's still waiting to see numbers on Rex.
Yeah, they'll both probably come at the same time on the union website.
That'll happen the day Don goes to work at Sonora, California.
Ooh. Speaking of working, wow, we segue really well into this. FedEx inks deal with Amazon to fill delivery gaps left by UPS. So I got some skinnies on this, and according to sources that I have, Google, it says the agreement covers residential delivery of select large packages to Amazon customers. So the articles that I've found really talk about like delivering furniture and things like that to residential addresses. Now, whether this is true or not, that's up to us to see how it affects our package volume. But if they take the dog food and furniture and stuff, hey, more power to them. We'll take the little stuff and deliver it. But this may affect especially rural outlying post offices that get the really big Amazon deliveries and things like that.
Like my
so
office.
This is something. Yeah, where you don't have FedEx running around in your area.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Me and FedEx were emptying our trucks at the same house one day. Only he had the even bigger stuff. Because when I rolled open my back gate there, he's like, "Damn, you fill up that like that too?" I'm like, yeah, dude, and half of this truck is going on their front porch." But yeah.
Now is that a FedEx contractor servicing that, Kristen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, FedEx.
Most FedEx drivers are contractors.
Yeah. Well, they do have some of their own, but
mostly express and freight. But yeah.
Yeah. I don't see them doing the outlying rural areas ever.
Yeah. Well, FedEx, according to Fox Business, FedEx expects the deal to be financially lucrative, with yields and weights above system average in the U.S. ground market. And yet Amazon sees cost advantages with the deal as well. So makes you wonder, are they charging more for shipping through Amazon, or how are they making this actually viable for them? Or is it going to be FedEx picks up the package from Amazon, takes it, delivers it to the Postal Service, and says, all right, you guys deliver it? I mean, that's what FedEx did a lot of times with Amazon that they had.
Yep.
At least in my. So we'll have to see how this turns out. It may turn out, eventually, just like everything else, it'll eventually come back to the post office because we actually are the most lucrative contract for any agency out there because we have the lowest rates. And that's how FedEx and UPS keep their rates low, is because of the Postal Service. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to compete with us.
Little sidebar for Relic there in guidance of keeping FedEx from placing packages in the mailbox. First of all, it's against the law. I believe it's the A125 or 139, which is a specific letter from the United States Postal Service in Washington, D.C. It's not from a district manager or a POOM, that illustrates that you're supposed to bring that package back to the post office. The carrier company is supposed to pick it up. You are not required to take it to the door. or postage due. That is against the law because they're getting charged double. And there are several articles in the DMM in the 800 section in regards to placing objects in mailboxes without adequate postage, and that they're supposed to be brought back, and it's a $5,000 fine per event, which we don't enforce. Imagine if we did, how much money we could make if we actually enforce the laws on the books. And some people say, oh, you just take it and you throw it on the ground. If you do that and they see you do that and somebody comes by and steals it, or the wind blows it away, or whatever happens to the parcel, then you can be held responsible. And you have to realize everybody in the world almost has a Ring camera on their damn doors and can see their mailboxes, except for in truly rural America. So don't do that. Take the package out, return it to the post office. And what I would always do, because the clerks would inadvertently throw it back into the damn hamper the next day for me, I would black out the address and write return to sender, no postage. They would have no recourse except to send it back, to FedEx. And we had the Gaylords in the back for FedEx, Amazon, UPS, Laser Ship, and we had a small U-Cart for Target, which has gotten into the business of having people drive around and put it in mailboxes too.
I have a customer who put a camera on their mailbox. Yeah, I have a customer who put a camera on their mailbox because their neighbor was messing with their mailbox. And finally, the neighbor actually drove over the mailbox and ended up in court over it. So the customer got a hold of my postmaster and asked if there was any way we could move the mailbox basically across the street onto their property. And they asked me, and I said, well, I go back the other way on that road anyway and don't service any boxes. Just put the box right there just before where I turn. It'll still be on their property, just be a little bit further from their driveway than most mailboxes. But it'll allow me to service it, and they can have their box on their property. And they still have a camera on it just in case.
Yeah, it's within your line of travel still, so.
Yep, exactly.
Mm-hmm. I live on a street here, Davis Court, and as I drive down to my townhouse, there's a mailbox with a Lang lawn service baggie hanging on the mailbox. Every day I want to stop and take it off of there, but I'm on the wrong side of the vehicle since I'm driving, so I would do that. I had a record day of 43 of those once. Pulling them off the mailboxes and throwing them, into the trash when I got back to the office. I love stuff like that. And I don't know about you guys, because you know where you're at, in regards to winters. Do your oil people leave their bills on the mailboxes or in the mailboxes too?
No, they leave them on the door.
Okay. Yeah, because they would do that down here, and I'd take them too.
Nope, all the ones I've ever seen have been left on the door.
No, I just get advertisements. And then those become rural reaches.
I usually reach to the car window and grab them. Like, what the hell's wrong with you? You're breaking the law. You're a felon. Then the lady looks up at me and said, son, I'm just trying to drum up business. My mother, she's a lawbreaker, I swear to God.
So that's all I had.
That's
all I had for information.
Okay. I'm going to talk a little bit about the stuff that really disappoints me that I've seen on social media. The number one thing this week that I have seen...
Hold on. I want to go get a car battery and hook it up to my laptop so I have enough juice, okay?
Uh-huh. No, the one main thing this week that I have seen that has just make face palm every freaking time. I got this ballot in the mail. What's it for?
No, God.
Damn.
Okay,
I can't.
I'm sorry.
I
There
can't.
there are some carriers that live under a rock. We can't escape that. You know, they don't have their union rep showing up in their office to talk with them about what's going on in the craft. So they're isolated from what's going on. That's the problem. We don't have people going out and talking with these carriers and saying, "Hey, here's this information. Here's how to get a hold of your union steward. Here's what's going on in the craft. Here's where you can go to meetings." I understand some people don't want to go out and quote unquote hold people's hands. But if you reach out like we do on this podcast, even just a little bit, you're going to get more engagement from carriers. And there are going to be less questions asked when things hit the fan, like the ballots coming out or Rex. How many people didn't even know what Rex was the day Rex started?
Oh, I know.
James, can you send me a grievance form because Kristen made me spit a mouthful of Crown Royal on my deck?
You'll just have to charge her double at National for it.
Oh my God. When she said that, I knew she was going down there, and I'm like, no, don't say it. And you're right. I'm sitting there going, I've had people in the office call me and ask me what the ballot's for, and I'm like, what does it say? It's for voting for this new tentative agreement. Okay. Well, I don't know all the details of the tentative agreement. Are there any details with the letter? Well, they got some highlights. Okay. I'm like, all right. What else do you want me to tell you? You're right. Some people have to be handheld.
I just
Most of the people in my office don't have to be handheld, but a
well,
few of them do.
with as much as this has been going around since it was announced, and then the hard copies go out, which honestly I have delivered ballots to my fellow postal brothers and sisters that are also customers. Have delivered ballots before I delivered the TA. But
Mm-hmm.
as much as it's been going around and people have been talking about it, especially on the social webs, to still have somebody come in and go,
So,
"What's this for?"
yeah, you
I
can't
mean,
make
there's
this
no
shit up.
words. So you face palm and keep scrolling,
Yeah, you can't make this shit up. You can't. I mean,
or you go and pop the popcorn to read the comments.
oh God.
But I still go back to the adage that it's something that should have been talked about in the office with the carriers. And I understand that there are a lot of people in the system that are overworked and definitely underpaid for the work that they do. But we've got to do something to reach every rural carrier in this craft besides a podcast, besides social media. We have to have a way to get this information to all these carriers. And I know you can say, oh, well, we send out a magazine. Oh, well, there's the website. But there are carriers that need that face to face interaction for things to stick in their minds. There are carriers that need to have that person to reach out to that they trust to answer those questions. Because
And this is why in-person meetings are still important.
Mm-hmm.
and finding out that point where you can actually have the meetings where the maximum number of people can attend is important. But I still believe that having somebody go into these offices and say, hey, here's some information for you. Here's how to reach out. Here's where you can go for this stuff is so tantamount in this. Because there are isolated offices out there that may not be able to drive 2-3 hours to a local meeting.
Well, you still have
We have to,
areas, and I know carriers that live in areas where they still don't have high-speed internet, or if they do, it's satellite and it comes down in packets, so it's really difficult to stream a video or join a Zoom or something like that as well.
yes. And as much as people have disdain for technology, that's a tool we can use. We're using it here on the podcast to reach out to carriers, and with that, have actually gotten carriers to be involved in the union with it. Have gotten carriers to look things up and fight for this crap. All just by carriers talking to each other like sitting at a round table.
Or bar
We got to
table.
figure this out. We got to figure this out. We've got to find a way to get an engagement across the entire nation.
Now, I realize that would be the perfect scenario. You have to realize that there are some people that don't give a rat's ass. Okay, they don't care about the union. They don't care about the contract. They don't care about anything except for getting their job done, going home, and getting paid every week. Their only concern is themselves. It's human nature. Saying that, it doesn't mean you still can't try. You cannot say, I'll settle for 95%. Hell, if we get 95%, this union would be dangerous to the post office.
Hell, if
But
we
the
could
fact
get
of the,
if we could get
yeah,
50%.
yeah, you ain't lying. But the fact of the matter is that there is distrust of the national board. There's distrust of the national steward system. I'm getting backlash from some people in regards to the comment I put in a Facebook platform about getting the national steward system back to the states, decentralizing all that power and authority. All the nepotism and favoritism in regards to the politics of the national board, and let the states pay them. Because I'll guarantee you the states are not going to pay a carrier to be an area steward, a part-time ADR, full-time ADR. They're not paying them K-48 money when they're a J-42 route. They'll get their mileage, they'll get a per diem, but they'll get their daily rate. But the fact of the matter is that a lot of people, since the coming of Don Madsen, the ADR and DRs have been eliminated. Some have been justly eliminated. Some have been unjustly. One lady responded to me today in regards to the fact that she was removed because of an EEO filed against her by a carrier, which the union failed to investigate, and she lost her position as a part-time ADR. Again, this is what's wrong with the national board. They're only worried about the contentious situations which may look bad on them, may cause them some financial strife in the future. They didn't bother investigating their own ADR's claims. Then you have on top of that the NROs. The NROs are supposed to be overseeing these DRs. Well, how did my NRO miss the fact that a DR hadn't processed all their damn grievances in a 2.5-year period? The amount of oversight is ridiculous because nobody's doing their jobs. Why do you think so much of these step fours are still sitting out there? People are still sitting there waiting for results for their disputes from the first mini mail survey done 5 surveys ago.
Mm-hmm. I know.
And John Adams has been working on those, though.
Well, John Adams isn't the only one. The thing of it is, they have to go through the NRO before they get to him.
Mm-hmm.
And who's overseeing the NROs?
That would be Nikki Phillips.
Okay, there we go. Somebody hit the bingo button.
But the key is that we're starting to stride that way. We're taking baby steps, but we are getting there. We're getting things resolved in many situations. People are starting to pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
People are starting to do what they're supposed to do because there's been a spotlight shown on. Names are getting thrown around. And it's causing action to actually happen. And that right there is the most important thing. That action is starting to happen. Because it needs to happen. Sure, you're going to have people that dig their heels in and this is how we've always done things. And you're going to have people that no matter what you do, it's never good enough for them. But the overall concept is our craft needs to have representation available at any given time a carrier needs it. And the thing about it to me is it doesn't matter if this is how we did things. It doesn't matter if it's a new way to do things. What we need to do is find the top best way to do things and have backup ways to do things. We have to have a plan of action to get as many people involved as possible. Because the only way this union survives and or grows is through participation. You can't decertify a union to get it to do what you want it to do.
Mm-mm.
You can't turn around and bust a union to get it to do what you want it to do. You have to work within the union to get the union to work, because guess what? Your work is working for the union because you are the union. You're the most important part of this union. Without each and every rural letter carrier down on the floor doing their job and protecting the national agreement and all the other union documents and postal documents that have come out, there is no union. If you are not defending this national agreement and our rights to wages, work conditions, and benefits to a T as much as possible, you're saying the union doesn't matter.
And then it got quiet.
I don't think anybody out there that listens to this podcast thinks that they can just skate by without doing anything to better this union and better this craft. Everybody that listens to this knows they have to fight to keep what they deserve. And if you're a first-time listener, you're going to want to fight to keep what we deserve. Because that's what unions do. We can work with management when they adhere to everything they agreed to. I have absolutely no problem working with management when they do what they're supposed to do. It's when they make us put on our union hat and fight for what we already agreed upon, that's when the gloves come off. It's business, not personal. Business is keeping what we have right now and fighting for what we need for the future. Not just with one tentative agreement, but thinking forward to the next 2 and 3 tentative agreements we're going to be making with the Postal Service. You can't just start negotiating your next contract right after you finish the first one. You got to be thinking long term, because management is. Anybody else?
No, I'm good.
I was gonna throw one in there, but since I'm a retiree, I'll just keep that to myself.
I'll throw it in there, Bill. Go ahead.
All right. Okay, and I know this is contentious as hell, but I'm gonna say it anyway. I believe, okay, this is my personal belief. This is not something I would subject everybody to, but I'm of the opinion that Table 1 carriers, in light of the fact that Table 2 has not been dissolved, has not been incorporated into Table 1, I'd rather see Table 2 carriers get a higher raise than Table 1. So I'll be, I worked here, I got 30 years in, I'm entitled. Yes, you're entitled to something, but for our craft to go forward, we need everybody to be able to afford a lifestyle on a single paycheck. Most carriers on Table 2 or Table 1 are 12 years into Table 1. Okay? Correct? You got 12. Okay.
Not all.
Not all, but most. James, but most. Okay? And if they're not, they're real damn close to being at the top of their tables. Because Table 2 came in at 2012, correct?
Yes.
Therefore, they should be real close to the top of their tables, which is significantly higher than Table 2. Therefore, I would not be averse to having Table 2 get higher raises than Table 1. That's my personal opinion.
I know I've talked with multiple Table 1 carriers that support your position, Bill, and I've talked to some that don't support your position. So, and I agree with you on that. And Table 1 does get contractual raises and COLA still.
Yep.
So they're still getting something. And we've already seen them do that with one table here with this tentative agreement. And that is the table for RCAs, where they added the dollar for after 3 years with this tentative agreement. Why can't they do that with the Table 2 carriers? You know, add a little bit of extra cash into the table to bring them up a little closer to Table 1.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that Table 1 does not get the COLA and not get a contractual raise, but at a different rate. They can get the full COLA, and I think everybody ought to get the full COLA. Everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But they could do with a 1% raise, you know, and turn around and give 1.6 to Table 2. 1.7 to Table 2, whatever. But the fact of the matter is that you're already up to $94,000. And these people are down there at $47,000, $54,000.
Yeah.
How the hell are you supporting your household and a POV on that salary?
Yeah.
Only if you live in your POV.
Yeah, exactly. And that reminds me, another question I saw today about somebody making a second and third trip on the POVs. And I seem to remember the stipulation that they don't get any extra increase of EMA unless it's over 40 miles. I'm sitting there going, well, hold on. What do you mean they have to go? So if you have a 28-mile POV route and you go out and drive another 11 miles, you're not getting anything extra. An extra 12 miles, you're not getting any extra. You should be getting paid for every stinking mile you use your vehicle on. Period. Who came up with that? Oh, the post office. Sorry.
Management.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike Marola is table 2.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody asked if all the board members being table 1. No, we have a table 2 on the national board, and that is Mike Marola. He actually did admit to that at the ratification meeting.
Yeah, but
I
he's
get
at
that.
table. He's at table 2 at $108,000. I'm sorry. Did I bring that up? I mean, that slipped.
I actually felt a little bad for him because he had the way they set him up to do this ratification meeting here in Michigan was he had to fly into Grand Rapids, get a rental car, drive down to Columbus, Ohio for their ratification meeting for Saturday, and then drive back to East Lansing to do the ratification meeting for Michigan. And then drive back to Grand Rapids to drop the rental car off to fly back home.
Why not just
You can't
fly
make this
into
stuff up.
Columbus?
Apparently, it was cheaper to rent the car and return it to Grand Rapids than it was to fly into Columbus than fly into Lansing. Although,
Or even just rent a car up to Lansing and then fly out of Lansing. But,
yeah,
I don't know. I don't book that stuff for anybody but myself, so.
no. In fact, I believe it's in the Article 9. It's a subsection B talks about the percentage that carriers get on COLA for Table 2. And it's basically you take your Table 2 step pay and divide it by the Table 5 or Step 15 pay, and that's the percentage you get of COLA at each step.
Mm-hmm.
That is why Step 1 is getting way wider than Step A on Table 1 than Step 7 or Step 13 is because of the percentages. And Step 1 on Table 2 is almost half COLA.
AKA the the nickname Diet Cola.
Yep. So.
Yeah, by the time all this is resolved, if this vote's through and we get any back pay, by then I'll be Table 3. Or Step 3, excuse me.
Don't we already have a Table 3?
Yeah, I wish. I still ain't making that much
Well,
money.
that'll become Table 5, and then Table 6 will be the Table 4 carriers that got the dollar raise. Table 7 will be the Table 3 carriers that are in the in-between period, and Table 8 will be the Table 4 carriers without the dollar increase.
Oh, throw all the tables at the wall. I agree.
Language, young lady. Language. Jeez.
No, I meant to say Step 3 is where...
No, I'm talking about meow.
Oh, I know.
But that's all I had for the night. You got anything else, guys?
No, I'm good.
I'm just, like Kristen said when she made me choke my Crown Royal onto the deck here. I'm just surprised at how many people are just ignorant of what's going on in their jobs and their careers. And it's just, God, we've been fighting this fight for over 2 years, and previously another year before that, and it's I mean I know what the explanation of insanity is. Sometimes I feel like we're insane people.
Sometimes
there's
I feel
there's
like
got to
I
be
am.
there's something wrong with us, in regards to trying to to get this craft to lift itself up, and sometimes
But
it's very disappointing and very disheartening. But the fact of the matter is that if we can help one person, if we can help a carrier who turned around was going to quit and become a local steward, then we're accomplishing something in a positive fashion.
mhm.
If we get you to send in your ballots for your state delegates to the national convention because you want to change the face of the national board with new people, then we've accomplished our mission. If you attend your first state convention or booster and find out how the system works and how all the procedurals are laid out in regards to getting things accomplished in this craft, then we've accomplished something. That and copious amounts of Crown Royal keep me going.
Speaking of that, Bill,
Yes.
2 months ago, I got a carrier decided to step up and become their local steward. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
proud to say that 2 days ago, I just had another one tell me that because of my assistance, they've decided to step up as a local steward in their office.
Here you go.
That's what happens when you just give them a little taste of what this union's about. You show them that somebody's willing to fight for them. And I've said this at the conferences. You show them you're willing to fight for them, they're willing to step up and fight for others. That's what we've got to do. Educate, protect, and fight for every carrier in this craft, no matter who it is. And we will get people to step up and make a difference too.
All right, I have something to say, and I have been debating whether to say it tonight or not, but
Go for it.
this is going to be my last regular episode.
But
I have to step away from the microphone.
no.
Yeah. Don't worry, guys. I am actually in the process of getting that edit book presentation done, and that will come out this week. I promise. I will have that. I am not going to let people down on that one. But this will be my fight has to go in a different direction, which is going to be requiring me to have to step away.
Well, I, for one, I understand why you are.
Mm-hmm.
And I completely support you 100% in that direction. Because I know what you're doing and I know what it's for. And I believe you are going to do amazing things in the direction you're going.
Thank you.
And just like everybody else here on this podcast and on our social media pages, I know that they're going to support you in that decision as well, because you have made a difference being here so much that this podcast wouldn't be what it is without you leading the charge to make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
And you have built this into what it is. And no matter where you go from here, the legacy you have drawn here will continue to grow and expand. And it'll be yours.
Just don't do me wrong. Because I can pull the plug anytime.
you already set the bar extremely high on what is expected on this platform. And anybody that comes after that will have huge shoes to fill. And I know that the change for the audience members is going to be extreme. But at the same time, it's important to understand we are involved in multiple things outside of this podcast, like me running for the president's office and Bill retiring. Change happened.
I'm coming back.
As an art.
But
Arc.
it's still important to understand she's still going to be there for you guys. She'll still talk to you guys. So I don't think she's walking away and never going to be talking to any of you again. She's still going to be there. I know what she's doing. So it's important to understand that she's still going to be a good friend to all of us here. Come on, Bill, get soppy on us.
Well, I was going to try to be magnanimous about this whole situation, but well, that's not my fucking nature. Yes, we understand why, and we understand the background, and we applaud you for that. Doesn't mean that we're not going to miss you. Doesn't mean we're not going to talk about you.
Yeah. Whatever you gotta do. That doesn't mean Ruby may not decide to come down here and pop on. I don't know.
But like James says, we all have our different paths, to travel to affect change. And we had another individual, also several individuals have to bail out because of their negotiations with other activities, shall we say, in regards to their path. So, whereas we will respectfully, honor the path that you're taking, it doesn't mean we have to like it, and it's going to hurt us. Somebody calls you mama bear. Well, yeah, somewhat, because of the fact that I'm an asshole, and James is a protagonist with information at his fingertips that he likes to throw out at people and smash them and beat them in the ground with. But the fact of the matter is that you were the hand that steadied the ship. So it'll be interesting to see how well this ship travels without the captain at the wheel. So you're going to be missed, and we everybody here should greatly appreciate your contribution, especially in getting this podcast up and running when you did,
and keeping it running.
Yeah, well, yeah, keeping it running, but
just with a lot of pushback.
Yeah,
and
but
from
the
all
fact of the matter is,
but
but the fact of the matter is, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you in the first place.
True. And I know there's a lot of people out there that wouldn't have stepped up, or wouldn't have joined or rejoined or put themselves out there to be a delegate and went as first timers to national convention as delegates because of us. People who because of us had given them that piece of confidence they didn't know they had to stand up for themselves or others in their offices as well. I mean, and that's what this was truly about, regardless if many think that we were dividing. I mean, I can see where you're coming from on that. That was never the goal. The true underlying message was for people to be active, to go to their meetings, to vote, to step up and stand up for themselves and others in their offices. That was actually the more underlying message when I first started. I know things went one direction one time, another direction this time. It was all over the place when all three of us were running last year. But the main goal, education and bringing the craft together, and really wanting people to step up, and even if it's educating others in their office, so that we can all fight this fight together and do the job the way it's supposed to be done, and management can kiss our asses.
Kristen, it was about uniting, and showing that even when differences of opinion happen, we could still unite together for a common cause, and that was to provide a outreach for carriers, an outlet for carriers that gave them hope, gave them inspiration, gave them the tools they needed to do what had to be done. And it all started with you. It started with you getting everybody together and inviting people to come join on this podcast and advertising it and putting together the socials and putting together all the pieces that come together, this Discord server, let alone everything else.
I don't think people realize how much I do behind the scenes.
Not to mention all the answering of the questions on the podcast page, the podcast group, monitoring that, taking care of that,
Monitoring
adding
the
people from that.
email, monitoring the email,
yep.
recording, editing. Yeah.
When you didn't have help doing that, you were doing it all on your own.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of this, what we have now, is all because of the foundation that you laid for this podcast and the expectation you had for this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
You set the rules and told everybody you either play within them or get out.
And those rules are still in effect, guys. I'm not going to let you get away with it going all willy wonky crazy on me, okay?
Want to bet?
Oh, wait, you're saying you're not going to let Bill do what he normally does anymore?
I'm sitting here going, I can go full Bill. January 6th, I'm going to make that look like a freaking Palm Sunday.
Oh, boy.
No, I won't. No. I've mellowed out.
No, you have. I've put a lot of work into you in the last few years.
Wait till I become an ARC, then you're all in trouble.
But think about
We're going to hear this and that about how parcels are on Sundays. Oh, just wait until they start making you work as an RCA as an ARC.
No.
No, hey, you're already trained. You're already trained as a carrier, so they could.
Yes,
and you haven't been off the job for more than a year.
And you know what I'll tell them then? Take this job and shove it. I'm working here no more.
Oh, I mean, we could go down memory lane. I mean, I remember walking caucus with you, and you could feel my stare through the back of your.
Yeah, that's true. I had to get the back of several suit jackets fixed because of the laser stare.
Or the side eye. I'd side eye you too.
It's like, okay, what am I doing wrong? Because I feel a presence.
Oh, I gotta tone it down. Okay.
It's like Twilight Zone,
Oh, yeah. No, I'll see everybody at National, though. Definitely me and Ruby and Little Man, and we'll be there. Huh. What?
Sorry, guys, it's my first fucking day. Yeah.
I'm a new ARC. What do you expect?
How do you sign in on the scanner?
Oh.
Wait, we're supposed to scan the packages when we deliver them?
Hey, they're not getting credit anyway. Who the hell gives a shit what route I'm on?
Wait, I'm supposed to enter the vehicle number?
Hey, James. Springfield. What are you doing in Springfield, PA? Oh, no, Springfield, Massachusetts.
He's got to
Man.
use a POV. Oh my gosh. Bill's got to use a POV to be an arc.
I could see him in a
Hey,
mattress.
at least he'd have air conditioning.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've got fold down seats in my Celto, so yeah, I'd be good. I got a roof rack.
All right, guys. Now that we brightened up the somber moment, last words, so we can wrap up tonight.
Hey, a retiree can be a steward. How about that?
Yes, they can.
Mm-hmm.
We have a recently new retiree in our state who is an area steward still. So yes. James, your final thoughts for this evening.
Yes, local steward.
Well, Kristen, like I said, I wish you the best of luck on this, and I'll be here to help you out if you need anything, as always. Um, just a reminder to everybody, Postal Employee Relief Fund. It doesn't get a lot of donations, but it can be a life-saving thing for a carrier that's affected by this severe weather. I know we've already, at the time of recording this episode, we've got 27 deaths from tornadoes from this past week. So help your fellow carriers out, support PERF, donate to things like Mailbox Angels that puts mailboxes back in front of houses so carriers don't get as bad of a hit to their wrecks because of this stuff. There's a lot of ways you can help your fellow carriers out there. Donating leave is another one. Take care of each other out there because we're all that we got in this job. Management won't help us. The Postal National won't help us. And the government won't help us. We got to take care of each other. So make sure that you're looking out for your fellow brothers and sisters of this craft. Because I mean it when I say it. We're all in this together. Bill?
Well, like I said earlier, I'd like to be magnanimous, like James, in regards to Christian's departure from this podcast. And I would definitely never want to say anything that she's being a selfish bitch in her own self-interest. But the fact of the matter is that she's going a course that she has to take, and we respect that, and we love her for it because of the fact that she's not giving up the fight. She's just attacking from another direction. And we wish her the best of luck. We support her. And like I said, we love her because of the fact that, she has contributed so much of her own time and money in this podcast, the equipment and everything else that, she maintains so that we can get the message out to everybody. This is something that hurts me because of the fact that, we're losing voice of reason, and the fact of the matter is that she is, like I said, the captain of our ship. She keeps me and James, on course, sometimes with difficulty, but that's the mama bear effect. And unfortunately, the podcast is going to lose one of its best assets. And I hope you all realize and support Kristen in her future endeavors because of the fact that she's earned that in regards to all the sacrifices she has made over the years for the craft, for the craft, not just the union, but for the craft, period. And we're gonna miss her. And like I said, I'm going to rejoin the post office as an ARC and get back into the system so that possibly I can become an ADR. I'd just like to have that, an ARC and become an ADR. That would be so funny. But I look forward to the opportunity because of the avenues it opens for me. My wife just sits there and shakes her head, but she understands. And I just want everybody, in light of the weather we've had out there in Lansing, the rain that we've had here in eastern PA and up and down the coast. But let me tell you something, folks. Be safe out there. The ground's saturated. The winds have been 35 to 40 miles an hour here in Philadelphia area, and just watch out for them trees and the branches. I've seen more than my share, coming down days after a weather situation has passed through. As I always say, be safe, be professional, be efficient, and make sure you get home to your loved ones because you are the most important delivery of the day. Kristen, for your sign off.
Let's hear your final sign off, Kristen.
Thank you for the praise. You kind of really raised my ego there a bit, but no, I have made a lot of sacrifices for the craft from the very beginning, from the get-go. And, and having to step away, this definitely wasn't easy, but it's what has to be done right now, so. But I do, like I said, I thank you guys for all the words of praise. It does mean a lot. But I want everybody to stay safe out there. Weather is crazy. Friday was 82 degrees and Saturday was 60. And then today in the 50s. And it's supposed to be in the low 50s the rest of this week and gloomy. So that's going to be my week. But, those that know me, I'll see y'all at state conventions. I'll see everybody at national convention that'll be there. So I look forward to all that. And stay safe, guys. Stay hydrated. The areas are getting hot and summer's around the corner and the areas where it's not so hot yet. But I will bid everybody adieu. And the guys will be back next weekend, I think. It's holiday weekend. You guys going to be back on next weekend?
Unless I'm working.
Could be. Unless I'm, yeah, exactly. Bill might be working late after, learning how to become an ARC, since he has to start all over. All that training and stuff he has to go through to become an ARC.
What's this load truck feature? What's that?
Okay, well, like I said, guys, I will still have that edit book presentation done. I've been working on it. I just want it to be just right, but that will be coming out, I'm hoping, by the end of the week. Ruby graduates Thursday, so I know it won't be then, but that is my project this week, to make sure that gets done for everybody, as I promised you, so I'm not going to go back on my word. But on that note, everybody stay safe, and hopefully the guys are back next weekend.